We are stucker than stuck can be. And not like good stuck, like really good holding stuck, like completely wrapped around a sunken boat stuck. So now one of us has got to jump in and assess our situation.
It's not that bad. I'm gonna tell you to drop like 30 feet right now, right? I'm gonna just try to get it at a different angle.
Tell me when to stop.
Alright guys, pick it back up. So the anchor's over here, so what we'll do is tie a trip line to it. So we'll use the long red line onto a fender. I'll tie that to the trip side of the anchor, the back side of the anchor, and then we'll get that up to the boat, and we'll pull the anchor all the way up to the boat. I think we can do that. We have enough loose chain on that side. So now we have a loop of chain down through this wreckage, back up to the boat. Now I'm just gonna unshackle the anchor, and then we'll drop the loose end of the chain, and then we'll suck that through, and hopefully that just threads through the wreckage. I think that's a 98% chance success rate.
You don't think the chain's like wrapped around something on its own?
No, it seems like a very simple loop through the wreckage and then out that way.
And you want this down there?
Yep, just throw it all to me.
What do you want me to attach the black line to?
Nothing, just give it to me. Alright, we got our anchor secured to the boat with an extra line so we don't accidentally drop it overboard. Here is the shackle coming off. We're gonna drop this.
We will not lose that, right? That's my pride and joy.
That's attached to the chain. So hopefully
Won't
that
come undone?
No, it shouldn't come undone. Hopefully that slides through all the debris. I think it will. And there's a chance it could get snagged. So we're gonna drop that chain in a second. All right, we're free. And that is how you avoid paying a salvage diver a few $100. Oh yeah, we're in Nantucket. Definitely would have been over $1,000. Or that's how you avoid losing half your chain and your anchor, because could have just cut the chain, would have lost 70 feet plus the anchor. Yeah, over $1,000. So that's how you save $1,000. Either way.
Okay, well, one of the things we were planning on showing you today was all of the things we love about Nantucket and how cruiser friendly they are. So they have this town pier where you can pull up and fill up your water. You can also pump out for free. They also have a pump out boat. So we are filling up the tanks today, pumping out, and getting all those chores done. Yeah.
We have spent over a month on Nantucket and have found it to be one of the most cruiser-friendly places we have ever been to. With its free dinghy dock, public restrooms with showers, ship store right off the dinghy dock, a launch boat, an affordable bus system, and a grocery store in walking distance made it the perfect place to plant ourselves for a while. Besides the boater-friendly aspect, it is also an island with so much history. A beautiful historic downtown, 4 lighthouses, delicious restaurants, and colorful flowers everywhere you look. We had so much fun sharing this piece of paradise with some of our favorite people, but it's time to set sail again.
Good morning, you guys. So after we left Nantucket yesterday, we got off that wreck and we didn't have any wind. It was late in the day, so we just motored to another cool little anchor spot where we woke up this morning. It got cold out. Fall is definitely coming. But we have awesome breeze today to continue on sailing to Block Island, our next destination. And today, while we're sailing, we're going to talk to you all about our sails, pros and cons of the materials, head sail options, what we've learned in the past from sailing Adrenaline for 3-4 years full time, and what if that learning led us to make the decisions on what sails we have on this boat. Wind is up, probably gusting over 20 knots, super gusty where we are now. We'll see how it is when we get out there. It looks like it's going to be right on our quarter out of the northeast. So perfect sailing conditions to get over to Block Island. Let's go. Best part of the sail. Man, so we got the full main and jib up. It is absolutely incredible conditions right now. We're sailing in the lee of the Elizabeth Islands. The wind is out of the northeast, and we're just cruising along the flat water. A little more wind than forecasted for this time today. Hopefully by the time we get out of the lee, which is coming up pretty quick, the wind starts to lay down a little bit. Otherwise you might have to throw in a reef, we'll see. So let's talk a little bit about the sails we have out right now. So our main sail is a square top main. It's on the batting car system, which makes it really, really easy to lower and raise. So one of the decisions we had to make for the mainsail was what material we wanted, and basically we had 3 options, that being regular polyester or Dacron. The next option up, it's called a cruise laminate, and it's basically a laminate sail with Dacron in the middle, and then with taffeta, which is another material, on some of the outer layers for added durability. And then the last option is called GPL light skin, or it's basically a carbon laminate sail. Similar, where it's carbon in the middle rather than polyester, and you still have taffeta on the outsides for added durability. As we were trying to decide this, obviously budget is in mind, performance is in mind, and durability is in mind. And it's all a balance, just like everything on the boat. You can't have everything. The pros and cons. Basically, with the regular Dacron sail, very affordable as far as sails go. However, it stretches the easiest out of all the options. Next step up, cruise laminate, which we got, doesn't stretch as much, especially as it's used over time, but it's a little more expensive. And you gotta take care of it a little bit better. You gotta make sure that we keep it out of the sun, although that goes for all sails. Like, you gotta keep them out of the sun when you're not using them. And you gotta keep them from luffing as well. So cruise laminate, a little bit more performance, especially over time as Dacron sails might start to stretch out. You'll lose performance that way. With laminate sails, they'll stretch less, so you maintain that performance for a longer life of the sail. Although they also may not have as long of a lifespan overall, but for the lifespan they do have, they're going to retain their shape a little bit better. And then obviously, cream of the crop, the carbon laminate sail, they stretch the least, but they're the most expensive. So we went with the cruise laminate. I think we made the perfect decision for ourselves. We were racing, or we had all the money in the world, we would get the carbon laminate sail. But we're not, and we're on a budget, so we decided that the cruise laminate was a good compromise, and so far we're super happy with that. I think it's important for most multi-hulls, maybe not all, but even if they're not necessarily performance multi-hulls, to have sails that don't stretch easily. We all know that multi-hulls don't heel, so when you're in gusty conditions, when you're in windy conditions, the power is felt by the sails and then, as best they can, transferred into the boat itself and hopefully turned into speed. But with that, the sails are just taking a huge amount of force, especially compared to like a monohull, where when you do get really windy conditions, you're powered up, or you get hit with a gust, the mono will heel and that'll absorb a lot of that power. So you get a lot of gusts on a multi-hull, especially Catamaran, or you're powered up a lot of the time, you're going to really start to stretch out those sails really easy. So I think for us, that's why we wanted to make sure we upgraded to a material that resisted that stretch as best as possible, that still fit inside our budget. So again, very happy with our decision so far, and that's the main as well as the jib. Now, another option most people have when they're choosing sails is the cut of the sail. Cross cut being like the most basic and the cheapest, and then tri-radial cut, which is a little bit better because all the force kind of gets spread out from each corner of the sail. It basically just resists stretching in a bad way again further. With the choices that we have, if you get regular Dacron sails, they're cross-cut, very simple, very affordable. If you upgrade to the cruise laminate or the carbon laminate, then those sails get tri-radial cut. One thing that we did on Adrenaline, that I guess at the time it might have been the right decision for us just because our budget was so tight, was that we went with Genoa, like a 130%, meaning it overlaps the mast by 30%. And I guess that was good for us, but in hindsight, it was definitely not the perfect head sail or head sail combination, because all we had besides that was a big oversized symmetric spinnaker. So we definitely had a love-hate relationship with that big symmetric spinnaker. Mostly hate. I mean, that was our fault. Again, tight budget. We bought it for $400 on eBay. Slightly oversized for what we could practically, functionally use very well. With this boat, we went with a 95% jib on the self-tacker. Self-tacker just means that the jib sheet is on a track, a curved track, directly in front of the mast, and it means when you tack the boat, jib sheet car just slides along that track and just tacks the other side. So you don't have to do anything to the jib sheet when you tack the boat, especially if you're going on the same angle across the wind on the other side of the wind. Really cool, really valuable. We've been absolutely loving it. Now, again, everything's a trade-off. With that, you sacrifice how you're able to control and shape the jib a little bit. You get a little more twist when you sheet out the jib. And you can overcome that with things like a barber hauler if you want. The compromise is well worth it for us, in my opinion. So what happened with the Genoa on Adrenaline was basically like we took the thorny path on Adrenaline. We hopped to windward in the Caribbean. It was windy every day, so we were constantly partially furled on that Genoa. And even though it had a padded luff, which allows you to sail with it partially furled, it still was not a great shape. I felt like it still stretched out the sail. It was just such a compromise for sailing hard to windward in windy conditions. And then when we were off the wind, I wish we had a little more power. It was just a little too small for 15 knots deep off the wind. I wish we had something more like a asymmetric spinnaker. So I knew going into this boat what we wanted for a head sail setup. Smaller jib, self-tacker, awesome. Makes sailing this boat so much easier. A bigger, lighter sail for light wind conditions going to windward, and that's going to be our Screecher. So Screecher is just a big head sail, a little bit lighter material, cut relatively flat so that you can sheet it in pretty good and sail to windward in light wind conditions. So our Screecher is on a continuous furler. Basically, you can pull the continuous furling line and you can furl up the Screecher, just like our furling jib. It's not on a fixed stay, but it's on this Dyneema like torsion line, and that is what furls it up. So it makes it really easy to deploy or bring in. And most of the time we keep it up on the bow of the boat, ready to deploy. If we know we're going to leave the boat for any significant amount of time, or we know the wind's going to really pick up, then we'll definitely bring that down and store it in the boat, or like lash it to the edge of the boat or something like that. And then if you're off the wind, if you're sailing downwind or broad reaching or whatever in light wind conditions, I knew we wanted an asymmetric spinnaker. I saw how valuable that was on the Corsair 880 when we had that boat for a few months, and how easy it was to use, especially when we got the right technique down. And we didn't have a sock on the 880, but we have a sock with this asym. So it's just so easy, even for, you know, being short-handed, just us two. I mean, I could do it by myself in moderate to light conditions. What really gets us going in lighter downwind conditions, even moderate downwind conditions, you can use it in up to like 20 knots true wind speed if you're going deep downwind, which is awesome. Thank you, Doyle Qingdao, for doing an incredible job on all our sails, but especially the spinnaker, which is our favorite sail by far. Those are basically the options we had. We had the option to add the Screecher, we had the option to add the asymmetric spinnaker, and we had the option of what material to choose for our sails. And that's how we came to the conclusion with everything we wanted. I think especially our head sail quiver is just absolutely perfect. You can't go wrong with that. I think the cruise laminate sails are a perfect compromise for us. Exactly what we need without spending a fortune, especially not racing. Yeah, just super happy. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and we'll continue sailing on to Block Island. So we just came out of the lee. Cutting off now is like 5 miles behind or something. Swell started to pick up as it built up through Buzzards Bay. The autopilot was doing a fine job keeping up, but when the swell starts to pick up and we're running downwind, I really like hand steering, because see if I can catch the waves and get some surfs in. It was fun. It's not that big. It's only like 3-foot chop, mini swells. But we're still getting some little surfs in. We saw over 11 knots already. It's pretty cool. Doing pretty steady 7 to 9 knots, somewhere in there, bouncing up and down. We're like 15 miles away from Block Island, and we're passing this massive ship that's anchored out here. It's like 700 and something feet long. Just humongous, with this monster crane and all this industrial equipment on it. So we're gonna have to, when we get back into service, we're gonna have to look up and see what this thing is. It's so crazy. Wind backed up just a little, still blowing pretty good, but just a tad. And we got this 50-foot St. Francis catamaran. They gained a lot of distance on us, and we're gonna see if we keep up with them by pulling the Screecher out. Give us a chance to show you guys the Screecher. What do you think? We're gonna put the jib away first real quick, and then we'll pull the Screecher out.
just rigged up a little barber hauler yesterday. Just some spare blocks we had and line, and just to be able to pull the sheet of any of the head sails outboard a little bit when we're off the wind. Like if we want to use the screecher more downwind, we can pull the sheet outboard, and that'll make it a better shape for downwind sailing. So typically, I mean, you can do it a lot of different ways, but typically you would use a barber hauler just like that. So just passing on the very north side of Block Island, which is called Sandy Point.
I have 2 goals here on Block Island. Number 1 is to finally find a glass float. Number 2 is to get some waves. Do you have any goals?
Ah, same goals, especially waves. Maybe some winging or kiting, like everywhere.
I'm going to find one this year. Don't know how many miles it's going to take, but I'm going to find one.
Okay, go ahead. They are going where we're going. I thought they were gonna they're continuing on to Long Island or somewhere, but they just turned. That means we're gonna win. Better tactics.
They might not know you're racing.
Everyone knows that when 2 sailboats are going in the same direction, you're racing.
Okay, Billy.
See, tactics trump physics sometimes.
Ooh, look at that proud man.
We were having a really great average before, around 8 knots. Our average this whole 40 miles have been about 7.6 knots, so pretty good for an average.
Billy may have been celebrating a little too soon. We still have a mile to go, and they're right there, neck and neck. Haven't you learned never to celebrate too early?
Well, we're inside of a mile. It's time to take the screecher down, so race is over.
Oh my gosh, no, they're not going to say that. They're not flying their screecher.
They have a jib up, not a screecher, so...
Oh,
we gotta take it down before we get too close to the jetty. That'd be bad seamanship.
Why?
Big, unmanageable head sail turning to windward into the harbor. I don't know.
This is your excuse if they beat you, isn't it? Well, I think you did a great job. They got 10 feet on you.
We got 10 feet on us.
You got extra sails on them, though.
Yeah. Winner, winner, chicken dinner!